What up, fellas? It's Coach Moose here, coming at you with a banger. It's currently 12:55 a.m., but the time for being optimal does not sleep. Being optimal does not sleep, absolutely not. But you know what? Let's just jump right into the video. We're not no tomfoolery here. This video is just going to be assuming that you're already training with the sole purpose of hypertrophy at least multiple times a week, and you're seeking the most optimal results. If you just wanted, just some results, you're happy with that, then this video, doesn't necessarily pertain to you, but I think you could still come out with some knowledge. But yeah, I'm certain that if you are seeking the most optimal results, this here is gonna bring you to promised land if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Just jump right into what I feel to be a pretty important topic, and that's gonna be proteins. Now, I'm gonna say that the goal that you should be shooting for is your body weight in pounds times 0.5 to 0.8 grams protein a day. So, but I'd recommend doing the higher end if possible. I'd say even if you're really locked in, go for around 1 gram per pound of body weight if you're very locked in, because my argument for this is in the individual studies done, some participants showed higher gains with more protein, and there's no downside when you're only at around 1 gram per pound. So I would suggest that, but if you find it hard to get in your protein, it's fine to stick around 0.5. It's very important to remember to get proteins from whole sources. But for reference, my favorite proteins, I'd say, are eggs, both whole eggs and egg whites, chicken, beef, venison, really any meat will cut it. Whey protein, both bars and protein powders, milk, turkey, beans, black beans, edamame, pinto beans, chickpeas, lentils. The best ones are gonna be meat and eggs, just because meat and eggs are very nutrient dense. Specifically, like red meat is very nutrient dense, and whole eggs. But really, the nutrient density, you should always try to pick the most nutrient dense choice. When it comes to protein, that's gonna be your meat and your eggs. I'd say whey protein is beneficial on occasion, but if a majority of your protein intake is coming from whey, you need to switch something up, because you're probably way undershooting all your micronutrients, and that's really going to hinder your training performance and your health overall. So that's important to remember. Meal timing. Now, there's a lot of literature that's conflicting on the topic of meal timing and protein absorption per meal specifically. I'd say that that you should try to space out your protein throughout the day, but I don't think it's completely necessary. Like, for example, if one day like, I'm gonna be out of the house from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and I need to be asleep by 11, you need to get as much protein as you can in breakfast, because if you eat, for example, if I eat like 140 grams of protein in one meal, that's gonna stimulate muscle protein synthesis throughout the entire day, because just like 20 grams of protein is enough to satiate you for 3 to 4 hours. So I think you'll be okay if you eat more than that. I think it'll stack. And that's what the literature has shown so far. But some studies do show that it is better to space out your meals. So I would recommend that. And also for satiation purposes, how are you gonna eat 140 grams of protein in one meal is a great question. And you're gonna feel horrible right after. You'll be farting everywhere. It's really not a good idea. Now, what I would argue is the most important topic for people who aren't as serious in the gym, and for people who are, honestly. I think this is the most important topic. That's gonna be periworkout nutrition. Periworkout nutrition is just the study of nutrients surrounding the workout window, so anything before, during, or after a workout. And I'd say before a lift, I would suggest about an hour and a half to an hour before, eating about 1 gram per kilogram of body weight of carbs. So I'm 170 pounds again, which is about 80 kilograms. So I like to have between anywhere from 80 to 100 grams of carbs before my workout. And I'd say the best source of carbs in this case are going to be low glycemic index fruits. So anything that's a monosaccharide, since they target multiple receptors and will give more long-lasting energy, especially fruit, because they're also going to contain fiber, which is going to help them digest easier. And fructose is the easiest digesting sugar, more easier than table sugar. So just drinking like a soda is probably not going to cut it. Since that's a disaccharide, has to digest differently. But my favorite is probably bananas, apples, and blueberries. But I will say something with bananas. Bananas contain both fast digesting sugars and slower digesting starches if you eat ones that are still partially green or like just barely turning yellow, because the green part is the starch. So the slower digesting starches will digest first, and they will be lasting you a while, and then the sugars will digest. So it will give you several energy pathways there. So I would suggest that a decent bit before your workout, because it's gonna take longer to digest than other fruits. But another one I've been having lately, which I would say, I may say is the best, would be raisins or some type of dried fruit. This is just because they're so much more dense and you can eat so much really fast. I could just grab a handful of raisins and it would be like 20-30 grams of carbs, and I could just house it, and I could probably do that several times. It would take like a minute. 0.5 grams per kilogram of body weight in protein. So since, again, I'm 170 pounds, I'm gonna eat around 40 grams of protein. That's my example for you. So for me, a pre-workout meal would be 1.5 hours before a workout. And I like to eat a packet of rice and a can of chicken. The packet of rice I eat is like 60 grams carbs, and the can of chicken's like 40 grams of protein. And then about 45 minutes before the workout, I'll eat like a handful or so of raisins. I'd like to discuss tracking really quickly. We'll take a quick break from Periworkout Nutrition, but it's not really a quick break. If you don't track anything that you eat, I'm just gonna say, start out by just tracking your pre-workout meal so you can know that you're getting the right amount of the nutrients before the workout, just to have the best workouts possible. And I'd say that's the best first step in that direction. And it's really gonna make a pretty big difference in the long run. But yeah, I'd say the reason that you want to consume protein before, it's not going to make you feel full. No, the protein's not going to completely digest, but the most important thing about Periworkout Nutrition is just not feeling hungry during the lift. So if the food completely digests, you are going to feel hungry and your lift's not going to be as good. And also, you want to stimulate muscle protein synthesis throughout the workout so you can start recovering while you're still doing your sets, if that makes sense. I'm also going to discuss electrolyte and water consumption here, since it's also pretty important and it does relate to this. I'd say consume at least a liter or so of water prior to the workout. I don't mean like directly before the workout, just pounding a liter of water. I just mean at some point in the day leading up to the workout. This doesn't need to be like just straight water. Like if you drink like juice or like milk or soda or something, that does count, even though people say that it doesn't. No, soda doesn't dehydrate you or any of those things. It's almost equally hydrating as water, so just count it as so. Try to have around a liter before your workout. And I also suggest keeping fats low, but it's not really a big issue. Like if all you have is like, I don't know, just don't include any fats. Like don't throw in an extra avocado to keep you going. I'd say less than 20 grams of fat and you're good. Regarding electrolytes, I'd say try to have between a half and a whole gram of salt the other day leading up to the workout. The easiest way to do this really is to invest in high quality electrolytes. Electrolytes, which is EcoVision's electrolytes, they're not good. They taste very, very bad, but they're dosed very well. So if you can pound stuff and like ignore the taste, go for it. I've been trying to do that until I run out, but I'm a brokey, so I can't invest in better ones. I would suggest in all of them that I've had that Santa Cruz Paleo electrolytes are the best. They taste amazing, honestly, and they're dosed very, very well. I'd say the best. Not better than Electrolyte, so they have the best dosing, but they taste nuts. We've got the post-workout meal. Now, this regards Periworkout Nutrition because Periworkout Nutrition is the study of nutrition surrounding the workout window. So we have discussed pre. Now let's do post. I wouldn't worry about intra. If you have lifts that are 2 hours long or longer, and you start feeling hungry, maybe start down in like a Gatorade or something during it. But honestly, I wouldn't really worry about it. Just don't eat any proteins or fats. I'd say just stick to simple carbs. But I'd say the post-workout meal is slightly less important than the pre-workout meal, but I think it's still very, very important. Really, the most important thing about this meal is to have protein and to have carbs with it. It's likely that the muscle protein synthesis is over since you've expended energy during your workout, and it's been a bit since your last meal. Contrary to, I guess, popular belief, I don't know, people don't really believe this as much anymore, but your post-workout meal does not need to be immediately after the lift. You don't need to finish your last set and have a protein shake ready for you. I wouldn't even suggest that really, because that's just a pain in the butt. I'd say to try to stick within 3 to 4 hours of the pre-workout meal. So if your lift is like an hour long, eat it like an hour after that or so. Have another 0.7 to 1 gram of carbs per kilogram of body weight, and another at least a half a gram of carbs per kilogram of protein. Eating carbs is going to help replenish muscle glycogen and open up some pathways for muscle protein synthesis that are insulin sensitive. So they require carbs to open them so the protein can go through. And 5 IUs, which is baseline insulin, is not enough. You have to consume carbs to open them. But carbs alone and protein alone won't quite do it. I again wouldn't worry too much about fats in this one. Depending on how much time you have between your meal after the post-workout meal, I'd say have more fats if it's going to be longer, have less fats if it's going to be shorter. Alright, moving on to calories. This section is going to pretty much solely depend on your goals and experience. Someone who's experiencing newbie gains, which is between year 0 and year 1 in the gym, can benefit from a larger caloric surplus since they're building more muscle than everyone else, and they won't put on as much fat. That also applies to people who are on gear. They can eat in a big surplus, and because they are putting on more muscle. People who are natty will not put on as much if they're outside of newbie gains, so they need to eat a smaller surplus to minimize fat gain. I'd say there's no reason, if you're not in newbie gains while on gear, to surpass around a 500 calorie surplus. And if your goal is to lose fat, I'd suggest just a 4 to 6 week Minicut, which I'm going to talk about in more detail at the end of the video. But if you want to lose fat and put on muscle, eat in a 200 calorie deficit, since the recent literature shows that you can effectively build muscle in a deficit. I'm just going to quickly go over fats and carbs. So I'd say eat more healthy fats than you think you need. Some great sources of these that I would suggest for everybody who can is going to be salmon, olive oil, nuts or nut butters, whole eggs, and avocados. All these I named are very nutrient dense and will really benefit you. I'd say choose fats over carbs in most contexts, but do eat veggies at least 1 to 2 times a day if possible, and eat more fruit than you currently are. Superfoods. I have it in quotes because I think the word superfoods is stupid. I think it's a stupid word. I don't think it is based on any literature really. Alright, but here's some high quality foods that I think everyone should include if they can. I'd say, for proteins, I'd say eggs, beef, chicken, salmon. Eggs again, avocados, nuts, and salmon. I don't know if nuts are kind of on the borderline. I think they're good because they contain vitamin E, which is really hard to get through food. But they're also a pretty easy way to get in a bunch of calories. So I like it for that reason, and that's kind of why it's here. Avocados, they're high in vitamin K, also vitamin E, magnesium. They're a great source of a lot of things. Eggs, I'd say, are peak. Like, eat you some freaking eggs, okay? I don't care who you are. If you don't like eggs, you're in a bad spot. Because they, I'd say, are the best food. And then for carbs, kiwis and blackberries, really, I'd say, are the two most important. But kiwis and blackberries are very good. Kiwis are the best fruit, I'd say, especially if you don't like vegetables, because they're high in vitamin K. Same with avocados, but you can get your RDIs for vitamin K in only 2 kiwis. And I'd also say, in terms of vegetables, eat broccoli, eat spinach, eat kale, eat as much vegetables as you can. Eat the vegetables that you like, but try to stick to more nutrient-dense ones like the ones I just named. All right, now I have some bulking advice. For a majority of people, I'm just gonna say, do not track anything. It's very tedious, and really, unless you're very, very committed in advance, you're probably not gonna be accurate, and you're not really gonna get the results you want. I've tracked for long periods of time. I haven't tracked for long periods of time. I'm just gonna say, don't track unless you have been lifting for several years. That means like 3+, and you want to get out peak results. Just make sure that you eat between 4 to 6 meals a day, maybe even more. I try to eat 6 meals a day. Eat calorie-dense foods like higher fat beef, peanut butter, the typical foods if you will consider bulk foods if you don't track calories, because they're easy to overeat and very calorie dense. Bruh. If you do track calories though, stick at around a 200 to 500 calorie surplus per day. If you go over that, you're probably gonna put on excess fat. And if you're under that, you're not going to grow at a fast enough rate to get optimal results. All right, guys, the Minicut now. I did the Minicut, and I'm suggesting it for anybody who wants to lose a lot of fat very fast. This here was me before the Minicut, and this was me after the Minicut. It was only 4 weeks, but it was absolutely amazing. It wasn't amazing during it. It was actually, I would argue, it was terrible. But, you know, it's really not as hard as people make it seem. I'd say you need to track your calories. Keep your intensity up in your lifts during your Minicut. If not, you're gonna lose strength and muscle. If you drop down to like 1 RIR, 2 RIR, stay very intense on your lifts. I'd say to eat around 1 to 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight, because you're at a much higher risk of muscle loss. And this is significant because you're in such a huge deficit, and if you lose muscle now, you're gonna look like poop when you are fully cut. I'd say to eat in around 1,000 calorie surplus, if not more. I'd say go as low as you physically can while keeping your protein up, and not miserable. You're probably gonna be miserable either way, but try to be as not miserable as possible. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you have any questions, let me know, or shoot me a DM here, or email me here. Okay, if there are any topics you want to add more detail, I can do that. I can make a video about it, depending on how important it is. If not, I can, we can talk, we can have a chat one-on-one. But yeah, I would love to take you on as a personal training client for Coach Moose himself. I'm an experienced personal trainer. I've got my experience. I like to think I'm very knowledgeable regarding it, specifically regarding training and diet. I guess there's not much else to it. But yeah, hit me up, you know what I mean, if y'all need some advice. Let me know some future video ideas, and tune in for the next video.